Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Public Works Committee meeting for Tuesday, May 27th, 2014. First item on the agenda is a roll call and the determination of quorum. Brenda, yes.
Estes,
Amanda,
Nordstrom,
here.
Roberts, Scott, Clayton. We have a quorum.
The chair will now entertain a motion to adopt the agenda. Chair will now entertain a motion to adopt the agenda. So moved. Thank you. The motion been made and seconded to adopt the agenda. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed. I just want to remind the mass audience that we have out there today is that if you have cellular phones, to turn them off or into the vibrate position, or your donut supply will be coming up today. And if you need to make a phone call, please take it out in the hallway. Right now we are open for items from the general public for comment, and I do not have any speaker request forms at this time. And I'm not seeing a mass rush to the podium, so we will continue with consent items 1 through 23. And again, I do not have any public comment items on items 1 through 23. Is there any items that the committee wishes to remove from the consent calendar? The chair will recognize Amanda Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This was a holiday weekend, and we really didn't have a whole lot of time to vet this if we were out playing all weekend, which I was. So I'd like to pull 3 items, please, items 16, 19, and 20, for some quick questions.
Just to verify, 16, 19, and 20
Works for me.
to be pulled from the consent items. The chair will entertain a motion to adopt the remainder of the consent items. Motion made and seconded by Amanda Scott and John Roberts. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. First item is item 16. Acknowledge stormwater utility 5-year capital improvement plan. And the chair will recognize Alderwoman Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I ask Mr. Wolsterstorff a question or two, please?
You may.
Thank you. Mr. Wolsterstorff, I know that this was brought up, and it was there was a discussion of taking this through the CIP meeting, and then it was decided that since this is a different department, standalone, all on its own, to bring it directly to Public Works. So my question is at the time of that discussion, we had a citizen that was concerned with having their project on the 2015 plan. It was a little difficult for me to figure it. Is that on the 2015 plan?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
It is. I believe it's referred to as it's a metering pond 203. It's in the 2015 budget.
Thank you. And then also I noticed that originally when this stormwater drainage utility was set up, it was estimated that there'd be $4 million collected, and I know that we are still working on getting the assessment roll set up and stuff. And I see that this capital plan just shows $3 million. Can you just explain the difference and the logic behind it?
Yes, thank you for the question. The $4 million is the estimated revenue that the stormwater utility will generate. And we are still finalizing the database with the county. Keep in mind about $1 million of that is used for the operations budget. And we have about $3 million that will be used for the capital improvements. So what you're seeing here today is the 5-year capital improvements. So $3 million annually is our estimate.
And so, Mr. Wolsterstorff, just so that because this is coming online, it's new, it's fresh, if the funds generated do not come up to the $3 million, is this prioritized in the way it's listed on the sheet, or would we have to relook at the priority of items?
We'll have to relook at the priority of items here.
All right, thank you. Yield the floor.
Thank you. I don't see any other speakers here, so the chair will entertain a motion to acknowledge.
So moved.
Motion made by Alderwoman Scott to acknowledge, second by Alderman Estes. It's a long weekend, folks. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Item 19 is request to purchase replacement pickup for solid waste collections from Ford McKee in the amount of $22,906, which is matching the state bid contract. And the chair will now recognize Alderwoman Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I ask a question of Mr. Wolsterstorff, please?
You may.
Terry, in looking at item number 19 and 20, because they're both requests to purchase, and both of these are dealing with enterprise funds, so it's not coming out of the capital budget. My first question is this was budgeted in both of these budgets?
That's correct.
And so then, in looking at these, I noticed that each one of these vehicles says that the replacement will actually funnel down to another driver or another employee. So here's my question, because I think we've been talking about this fleet management thing for a while, and I know at my company we deal with this all the time. It's really easy to say, well, the vehicle is still running, so we're going to use it. And the problem is you increase your fleet, thereby increasing the amount of fuel and the amount of M&R cost and everything else. So one of the vehicles says it's going to go to a newly hired electrician. Was the newly hired electrician brought on board knowing that they were going to be driving their own vehicle?
No, we provide the vehicle for the electrician.
So when they were hired, it was understood that they would have their own company or city vehicle to drive.
Correct, and they've been using a city vehicle.
Okay, so that dovetails into my question. So what happens is, bottom line, are two vehicles going to be retired or sold or disposed of so that we're not increasing our fleet?
Yes.
Thank you. So that's what I wanted to know. Thank you. I yield the floor.
Does, if the chair may ask Alderwoman Scott, does that take care of item 20 as well? So, all right.
Yes, it does, sir.
All right. The chair will entertain a motion to request the purchase replacement of two vehicles, and we, probably technically we should do them one at a time here. So, otherwise I would go with both items under one motion.
Move to approve 19.
Thank you. Motion by Alderman Estes and second by Alderman Roberts to request a replacement for the solid waste collection of 22.9. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed. Next chair needs a motion on item 20 as well.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is by Alderwoman Scott, and seconded by Alderman Clayton to request a replacement of another solid waste vehicle for $24,966. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. That ends the items on the consent calendar. We'll now proceed on to public comments for items 24 and 25. And I do not have any public speaker request forms for item 24 or 25. So we will go on to item 24 is a need to continue this item because of the health issue with our Superintendent Don Brumbaugh.
Move to continue.
Motion by Alderman Estes, second by Alderman Roberts to continue this report for 2 weeks. Yep, June 10th.
That was in my motion.
Yes. Thank you. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Motion carries. Item 25 is a request direction from City Council regarding an annexation of property south of Catherine Boulevard between Tartan Court and South Dakota Highway 79. And if I may call upon Mr. Brett Limbaugh to give us a little bit of background on what you're seeking here.
Well, as you know, we've had several meetings with the owners of the Lazy P6 Land Company regarding a number of issues. At this time, we would like to get the council's direction on whether or not you want to annex this property. And if so, give staff exactly that direction. What we would have to do then is do what's called a forced annexation, which requires a tremendous amount of work. Before we engage in that work, we would want to know that the council would want us to proceed in that direction. So that's what we're asking.
And just to be clear on this, did anybody contact the owners of the property? owner or owners?
Yeah, actually spoke with their consultant, Larry Gayaski, this morning.
Okay, thank you. And they let the record know that, show that they did not attend today's meeting. So all this is giving consent for the staff to proceed on a forced annexation. The chair will now recognize Alderwoman Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to send this to council without recommendation and retain the floor if I can get a second.
I do have a second by Alderman Roberts. You may have proceed, Alderwoman Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I ask Mr. Limbaugh a couple questions, please?
Please.
Number one, and I'm just clarifying, Brett, did you say you spoke with their consultant or our consultant?
Their consultant.
Their consultant, okay. And is there any other information? I mean, the reason I made this motion to send to council is there anything else that needs to be vetted out in a Public Works Committee, or should this just go directly to council and we can hear all the information at that time?
Yeah, I think what you can do is send it without a recommendation. We can debate that at council. Probably a better idea for the entire body to give us that instruction. We're just at a point right now where we want you to weigh in and tell us which direction you want to go. That's it.
All right. Thank you. I yield the floor.
Thank you. And not seeing any other questions from the council or committee members, the motion on the floor is to send without recommendation to the full council. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I'm going to vote no, because I'm not a big fan of sending items to the full council without recommendation. So we will proceed anyway. Having no other items on the committee agenda, Chair will entertain a vote to adjourn.
Without recommendation.
Yes, I appreciate it. Yeah, we got time. Let's see, Alderman Clayton made the motion and then seconded by Alderman Estes with some stipulations. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you.